Hi, and welcome to another episode of AdTastic. I'm Tony Stanall, and today we welcome a former colleague of mine who is Richard Sabean. He's done so many things. I'll just call him a Renaissance man. Welcome, Richard.
Good to see you, Tony. It's been a while. It's really great to see you.
Tell us about your journey through the ad world and what you're doing now, and then I'd like to circle back and have you compare and contrast today's industry to the former days of yesteryear.
Well, it's been a long journey, I guess I'd say. I'm not going to tell you when it started; it'll date me. But I started actually as a graphic designer out of school in Atlanta. Made my way to New York and worked as a art director, creative director, and in the mid '90s started to left an ECD job and started to direct commercials. I directed in the agency at one couple of different times, and while I was directing, I started doing voiceover work. It just so happened that a spot I directed, I did the scratch track for the voiceover, and they kept it on there and started that ball rolling. I also tried my hand at some on-camera work at that time. And then over the next 20 years or so, I remained a voiceover talent, did a little on-camera work and directed. And then I got pulled back into ad agencies from time to time on the Enticing Project or the lure of a full-time job that I might be able to direct some work. And actually, I think that's where we met, actually, at J. Walter Thompson, if I'm not mistaken.
That's right.
Where I worked on Try.
Yeah, you actually directed a commercial that appeared on the Super Bowl, correct?
Yeah, I did. That was for Trident Gum, and it was a test commercial that was never supposed to air. We were going to reshoot it, and I guess we shot it so well that the client, the agency was horrified, but the client decided to run it not only on air but on the Super Bowl. So we added some bells and whistles and souped it up a little bit. But it did that year. It was a Patriots Super Bowl year, which there have been many, but that was one of the early ones. I'm from Boston. I remember these things. It was ranked, Stuart Elliott called it the little spot that could. It was this tiny little, I think it ran as a 15 on the Super Bowl, and it ranked number 9 on the USA Today ad meter. So it did better than a lot of commercials that were much more heavily funded at that time. I think we spent $80,000 in total on that spot, which was pretty mind-boggling to think how well it done and the exposure it got. To the point where they actually reshot the same commercial. I think it was 10, 12, 15 years later, maybe. It was almost shot frame for frame because a lot had changed in the business. We shot the commercial back in the early 2000s with 5 dentists that were all male. And the moderator of this focus group that they were sitting in was male. And they reshot it, made the moderator female and had a female dentist. So it, was more inclusive at that time. I mean, we were a little short-sighted maybe back in the early 2000s when we did it, but that was the way of the world and the way the business was back then. So,
well, I tell you, Richard, we have about 30 seconds left, and I'd like you to just kind of give us like one thought of like one thing that's maybe strikingly different or strikes you as different now versus 20, 30 years ago in the industry.
It's completely different. eyes are diverted into so many places with the invention of the internet and streaming, where you can avoid advertising at all cost. We used to do television, print, outdoor, radio, and now the world has opened up to this plethora of various different types of media. We used to do 60-second, 90-second television commercials at times, 30s at minimum. Now we're into 6-second things on, and we're it's all fragmented. It's sound bites we sort of work with these days, and I think it's very difficult to break through. It's a challenge. It's not the reason I got out of the business, but it certainly is a lot more difficult for anybody that's creating advertising these days to break through. Hopefully, my voice is on the stuff that does break through, or me acting. But
fantastic. Well, great catching up with you, Richard. It's never enough time. We've got more time. Sure. More time than a TikTok ad, but less time than a 60 Minutes interview. But we could do this again sometime if you like.
Happy to, anytime.
And thank you for joining us on this episode of AdTastic. You could find out more about Richard Sabean and his Renaissance Man travels at dailyadbrief.com. See you next time.
Simplify presents Addressable CTV, combining the power of TV with the targeting and attribution of digital. Simplify's Addressable CTV delivers massive reach with the ability to scale without sacrificing precision. TV buyers can generate incremental reach with household-level targeting, frequency controls, reporting, and insights. To learn more about Simplify's Addressable CTV and what it can do for your clients, visit simply.fi.